You don't invite them into your thoughts. They arrive on their own, in the middle of routine moments, in silence, in places your mind visits when you're not paying attention. You wonder why this happens. You try to label it: attachment, habit, memory, weakness. But none of those explanations fully explain why one presence feels louder than all the others combined. The mind doesn't repeat what is finished. It repeats what is unresolved. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this constant thinking is not fate. It is a message. This video is not about romance alone. It's about unfinished emotional energy, unexpressed truth, and the quiet intelligence of your subconscious mind trying to close a loop. If you've been wondering why someone keeps returning to your thoughts without effort, stay with this, because once you understand why, the thoughts begin to change. 1. The mind clings to what felt alive. You don't think about everyone you've met. You think about the ones who activated something inside you. The subconscious mind is not logical. It is emotional. It remembers how something made you feel, not how long it lasted. When someone enters your life and awakens curiosity, safety, fear, excitement, or vulnerability all at once, the mind records that moment as significant, and significance creates repetition. Aristotle wrote, "The soul never thinks without an image. That image becomes a shortcut." Your mind returns to it whenever it seeks familiarity or emotional stimulation. This isn't an obsession, it's an emotional memory replaying itself. The reason you can't stop thinking about them is because your mind associates them with a version of you that felt more awake than usual. And the mind always wants to revisit aliveness. The 2. Unexpressed emotion never disappears. What you express dissolves. What you suppress stays. Many thoughts are not about the person. They are about what was never said, never acted on, never resolved. Sigmund Freud observed, "Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways." Your mind keeps replaying scenarios not because it wants pain, but because it wants completion. Every what if, every imagined conversation, every silent pause is your psyche attempting to finish something that ended too abruptly or never truly ended at all. The mind hates open loops, and until emotional truth is acknowledged, even privately, the loop remains active. 3. Thinking is often a substitute for feeling. Sometimes, thinking becomes a defense. Instead of fully feeling sadness, longing, or loss, the mind analyzes, revisits, and imagines. It turns emotion into thought because thought feels safer. Blaise Pascal said, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of." When you can't stop thinking about someone, it may be because you haven't fully allowed yourself to feel what their absence represents. The mind talks when the heart hasn't finished speaking, and so the thoughts repeat, not to trap you, but to protect you from emotions you're not yet ready to face. 4. The mirror effect. They represent something in you. Often you're not thinking about the person, you're thinking about who you were when you felt connected to them. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "We are our choices." And some people symbolize choices we never fully explored. Your mind returns to them because they reflect unmet parts of yourself: confidence, softness, courage, or authenticity. You're not longing for them, you're longing for that version of you. Until you integrate those qualities into your present life, the mind uses memory as a substitute. 5. When the thoughts begin to fade. The thoughts don't stop when you force them away. They stop when you understand them. Once meaning replaces confusion, repetition loses its power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you stop judging your thoughts and start listening to them, they soften, they slow down, they no longer need to shout. Closure isn't always about another person. Sometimes it's about making peace within yourself. And when that happens, the mind naturally moves forward. 6. Letting go without erasing. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the need to return. Most people believe closure is an event, a conversation, an apology, an explanation. But the real closure is internal. It happens the moment you stop asking your past to explain your present. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you stop fighting the thoughts, they lose their grip. When you stop trying to erase memories, they soften into lessons. The mind doesn't need to cling when it feels understood. This is where thinking transforms into wisdom. You begin to notice the space between thoughts growing wider. Silence no longer feels heavy. It feels spacious. The emotional charge fades, not because the memory vanished, but because it no longer controls you. What once pulled your attention now simply passes through it. And this is how you know healing has begun. Not when the thoughts disappear completely, but when they no longer disturb your peace. You didn't lose anything by thinking deeply. You gained awareness. And awareness is what finally sets the mind free. There comes a moment when the mind no longer asks the same question, not because it found all the answers, but because it learned how to live without them. The thoughts that once arrived loudly now come quietly, and then leave. They don't demand attention anymore. They don't pull you backward. They simply pass through, like clouds that no longer threaten the sky. As Epictetus reminded us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And embodiment begins when you stop revisiting what was and start noticing who you are becoming. You don't need to delete memories to move forward. You only need to release the emotional weight you tied to them. What once felt like longing now feels like understanding. What once felt like confusion now feels like clarity. And when awareness replaces attachment, the mind finally rests. So if someone still visits your thoughts from time to time, let them. This is not forgetting. This is freedom.